The afternoon, my phone lit up with a message. Just maxed out the card again. You'll cover it like always, right? I realized my family had finally said the quiet part out loud. My name is Sarah Chen. I'm 32. And in my family, I'm the one who always has it together, which apparently means my bank account is everyone else's emergency fund. I stared at that text from my younger sister Lily, read it twice, and my fingers moved before my guilt could kick in. No, I won't, I wrote back. 20 minutes later, my mom's message came in, not all caps but somehow worse, softer, dripping with disappointment. Sarah, your sister needs you. The gallery space won't hold without a deposit. Are you really going to let her dream die because you're being selfish? No question mark, just a statement wrapped in shame. While their messages stacked up in our family group chat, I opened my laptop, not to look at any bank statements, but at an email I'd been sitting on for 3 weeks. An offer for a senior position in Singapore that started in 2 weeks. Same base salary on paper, different hemisphere, different life. I scrolled down to the button I'd been too scared to touch, the one that said accept offer. I didn't argue with anyone. I didn't call a family meeting. I just clicked. That night, instead of transferring money, I went through every account with my name on it and started locking them down one by one. Joint credit card closed. Her phone on my plan removed. Automatic rent assistance canceled. Emergency access to my savings revoked. I froze my credit, muted the family chat, and set my phone face down on the counter while it buzzed itself into a small earthquake. By midnight, there were 49 missed calls and more messages than I could scroll through. All variations of, "How could you do this to us?" from people who never asked how it felt to be treated like a human ATM with a pulse. People love to say you never walk away from family. But nobody warns you what happens when your family treats you like a bank account that should be grateful for the privilege of being drained. If you've ever been the reliable one expected to sacrifice everything while the favorite gets endless chances, stay with me until the end. Because once you hear what they did before that text and what happened after I boarded that plane to Singapore, you can decide for yourself whether I was cruel for choosing a one-way ticket over another decade of funding someone else's dreams. Looking back, that text from my sister wasn't some shocking twist. It was just the moment the pattern stopped pretending to be subtle. I grew up in a suburb outside Portland, Oregon, where my parents loved to say, "We treat both our girls equally." But the treatment on that family tree was assigned early, and I was the branch expected to hold all the weight. I was the kid who got straight A's and worked 3 part-time jobs through college, tutoring kids after class, weekend shifts at a bookstore, summer internships that paid barely anything but looked good on a resume. My younger sister Lily got an art studio set up in the garage because she needs space to explore her creativity. And when she dropped out of her second college because the program didn't understand her vision, my parents called it brave. When I went to college, I pieced together scholarships, student loans I'm still paying off, and textbooks I bought used from sketchy websites that shipped from overseas. Lily bounced between art school, a semester of business classes she never finished, and a wellness certification program she lost interest in after 2 months. And every time something went wrong, my parents quietly dipped into their retirement so she wouldn't feel like a failure. They were proud of me, sure, but the compliments always came with a qualifier. "Sarah's fine. She's so independent," my dad would say, waving off any concern about me while my mom sighed over Lily's sensitive soul and how she just needed the right opportunity to shine. By the time we were both adults, that right opportunity had turned into a steady stream of my money flowing in her direction. It started with small things that were easy to rationalize. The first time I picked up a birthday dinner bill, my mom squeezed my hand and said, "You're such a good big sister." Lily forgot her wallet, laughed it off, and my dad said, "You know your sister, she's an artist, not a bean counter. Like being creative excused being careless." Then my phone plan quietly became a family plan with Lily added just until she can afford her own, maybe a few months. Car insurance expanded because it's cheaper to bundle everyone together and you make the most stable income anyway. When Lily launched her first business, a hand-poured candle company that lasted 6 weeks and needed startup costs, my mom called me whispering like it was urgent. "She's finally found her thing, honey. Can you just help her with the initial inventory? It's an investment in her future. It was always just for now, just this one time. At first, I didn't question it. I was in my late 20s with a stable job in tech project management, paying my own rent in a cramped studio, watching my savings grow slowly and thinking, this is what family does. They support each other. But as the years went on, the support stopped feeling like kindness and started feeling like a subscription I never agreed to. Lily's Venmo requests stopped being for groceries and turned into materials for my new collection. Deposit for the pop-up space. Emergency. The kiln broke and I need a new one by Friday. Her boyfriend Jake showed up in the group chat with links to professional cameras and ring lights, tagging me with, "This would be huge for Lily's brand, Sarah. She'll pay you back when the Etsy shop takes off." They said investment like it was a magic word that erased the fact that I was the only one investing. Thing is, I'm a project manager. I live in spreadsheets and timelines. So somewhere between the 5th, just bought me this month, and the 10th, I'll pay you back when this takes off, I opened a private Google Sheet and started logging every dollar I send out. Phone bill difference, car insurance premium, the time I covered 3 months of her rent when the candle thing didn't work out, the $2,000 I wired when she swore she just needed to clear one credit card to start fresh, the $450 here, $900 there, the vet bill for her and Jake's dog, the last-minute flight home she booked on my card, the "we're short on rent because a client didn't pay" excuse that came every other month. On their own, none of those numbers looked insane. But in rows and columns with dates and notes and a running total at the bottom, they added up to something that made my chest tighten. Every time my parents said, "You both contribute in different ways, it all evens out," the numbers told a different story. There was no evening out. There was me quietly covering gaps, so Lily could keep pretending money was just energy that flowed when you manifested hard enough. And every time I thought about saying no, I heard my mom's voice saying, "You know how your sister is, she's fragile. You're strong, Sarah. You can handle this." I didn't realize it yet, but that sentence was the real contract they thought I'd signed in blood. The email about Singapore landed in my inbox on a Wednesday morning, tucked between a project update and a spam message about kitchen appliances. Subject line: Senior PM role, international opportunity. I almost archived it on Reflex, assuming it was a recruiter blast, but my name was in the first line, personalized, specific. It was a formal offer from a partner company in Singapore, asking if I'd consider relocating for a promotion. Higher base salary, full relocation package, housing stipend for the first year, a team to lead instead of just coordinating other people's chaos from my desk in Portland. It was the kind of opportunity one used to dream about in my early 20s before I learned that being responsible meant being available whenever someone else wasn't. I read the email 4 times, heart pounding in that way it does when something good feels too big to trust. Then I did what I always did when something important touched my life. I called my mom. She answered with the TV on in the background, my dad saying something about a recipe. I told her about Singapore, about the role, about how rare it was to be headhunted instead of having to fight for scraps. For a few seconds, she sounded genuinely excited. "Oh, honey, Singapore, that's incredible. That's so far, but wow, what an honor," she said. Then there was a pause, and I felt the shift before she said another word. But with Lily finally getting traction with the gallery, is now really the time to be halfway across the world? "She's counting on you, Sarah. You know how she gets when she feels abandoned." Just like that, the air went out of my lungs. I started explaining logistics, how I could still send money from anywhere, how the time difference wouldn't matter for transfers. She cut in, softer this time, using the voice she reserved for guilt. "You've always been the strong one. Lily needs stability around her while she builds this. If you leave right when she's about to break through, what kind of message does that send?" It's funny how quickly a dream can start to feel selfish when the right person frames it that way. Around the same time, Lily and Jake moved into a loft in the Pearl District, the kind of place with exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows, perfect for her Instagram aesthetic. They hosted creative salons that looked a lot like parties, and every time rent was due or utilities spiked, my phone would buzz. "Hey sis, we're just a little short this month. The commission piece got delayed. Can you cover us? I'll get you back when it sells." They bought a new camera, better lighting equipment, a vintage rug for the studio corner. Every purchase was framed as essential for the brand. Every shortfall was temporary, something future success would erase. Meanwhile, I was the one checking my PTO balance down to the hour, making sure I had enough saved in case of an actual emergency. Every time the Singapore offer crossed my mind, my brain turned it into an equation I couldn't solve. If I left, who would keep her phone on? Who would float the rent when a client flaked? Who would be there when mom called in a panic because Lily was stressed and couldn't handle one more bill? My parents had turned my presence into infrastructure without ever saying it out loud. The guilt didn't hit all at once. It accumulated in layers, small and suffocating. It showed up when my manager casually asked if I'd thought about the Singapore role, and I heard myself say, "The timing isn't great." It showed up when I watched Lily post videos about following your bliss and letting the universe provide while I quietly kept the lights on in ways she never filmed. It showed up every time my mom ended a call with, "I don't know what we'd do without you, Sarah. You're our rock." Like my stability was a resource they'd already claimed. I told myself I was being a good daughter, a good sister, that it was temporary, that once Lily's art career actually took off, I'd be free to live my own life. I didn't realize that's not how it works. People who never face consequences don't suddenly decide to grow up. They just get more comfortable leaning. And the longer I stayed silent, the heavier the word no became, until it felt impossible to even think. The night everything finally stopped being vague requests and became a full boardroom presentation, my mom texted, "Family video call tonight at 8, important," with 2 heart emojis like that made it less ominous. I logged on expecting another round of Lily's almost there. She just needs a little more support. But they'd actually prepared slides this time. My parents were on screen first, sitting at the kitchen table I grew up eating dinner at, faces warm and smiling like this was good news. A minute later, Lily appeared from the loft, Jake beside her. Both of them dressed like they were pitching to investors instead of asking their family for money. Again. "Okay, everyone's here," my mom said, clasping her hands together like a moderator. "Sarah, we wanted to talk to you about Lily's big breakthrough." My dad hit share screen, and a PDF filled my laptop. At the top in a fancy serif font, it said, "Bloom Collective, Art and Wellness Space, a Chun Family Vision." Slide after slide laid out their plan. A combined art gallery, workshop studio, and wellness center with yoga classes, candle-making events, and a retail section for Lily's work and other local artists. There were mood boards, photos of empty warehouse spaces, projected revenue streams that all started with the word potential. And then the slide that made my stomach drop. A budget breakdown with a clean little box at the bottom labeled, "Bank loan, $75,000, and next to it in smaller font, "Co-signer, Sarah Chin." "It's beautiful, right?" Lily said, smiling that smile she uses when she wants something. "The bank loves the concept. They just need someone with solid credit to co-sign, so we can get approved. It's basically a formality." My mom jumped in before I could say anything. "Honey, your sister has worked so hard for this. The bank sees the vision. They just need a little reassurance from someone financially stable. You have that amazing credit score, and you're so responsible with money. We're not asking you to pay anything, just your signature." My dad nodded like he was offering me a compliment. "We do it ourselves, but our credit took a hit during the pandemic. You're the future of this family, Sarah. This is how we build something together." On the screen under assumptions, I saw phrases like rapid community engagement, organic growth trajectory, minimal overhead risk. It was like watching strangers gamble with my future using vocabulary from a business podcast. I took a slow breath. "No," I said. Just that at first. 2 letters that made the whole screen go still. "What?" my mom said, like she'd misheard. "I'm not co-signing a $75,000 loan. Not for a gallery. Not for anything." Lily laughed, but it was sharp, nervous. "Sarah, relax. It's not like you'd actually have to pay. It's just so the bank approves us. You trust me, don't you?" I felt my jaw tighten. This isn't about trust. It's about liability. If this doesn't work, the bank doesn't care about your vision. They come after my credit, my income, my future. I'm not doing that. My mom's face crumpled, her eyes going shiny with tears. Sarah, after everything we've done for you, we're asking for one thing. You of all people know how much Lily's struggled. She finally has clarity. She finally has a path. And you're going to be the one to crush it. Jake leaned forward, his face serious. This is really unfair, Sarah. You're sitting on savings and a steady paycheck, while Lily's been grinding for years. You not supporting her, when she's this close, is honestly kind of cruel. The word cruel landed like a slap. My dad's voice went cold. We didn't raise you to turn your back on family. We raised you better than this. You're acting like a selfish stranger. I let them talk. Let the script play out. After all we've sacrificed, we're just asking for this one thing. You know how sensitive your sister is. This is what family does. Then I spoke as evenly as I could manage. I've been supporting Lily for years. Phone bills, rent, insurance, business costs that never turned into businesses. I've covered thousands of dollars in things you call investments. But a $75,000 loan with my name on it? That's not support. That's signing away my future. And I'm not doing it. My mom actually started crying, real tears streaming down her face. Lily's expression went hard.
Fine, she said.
If you don't believe in me, just say that. Don't hide behind some excuse about protecting yourself. You just don't want me to succeed. My dad cut in. You walk away from this, Sarah, and you're showing us exactly who you are. Don't expect us to forget it. We ended the call with my mom sobbing, my dad's face red with anger, and Lily staring at me like I'd personally destroyed her life. Afterward, sitting alone in my apartment with my laptop still glowing, I felt something twist in my gut. My parents had made it sound like the loan was the only obstacle, but a voice in my head wouldn't shut up. I pulled up my credit report, more out of paranoia than real suspicion, and started scrolling. Most of it was familiar. My car loan, my credit cards, my student loans still hanging on like old scars. Then I saw it. A credit card I didn't recognize. Opened 14 months ago. Balance, $6,200. My address listed as the billing address. My name on the account. But I had never opened that card. My hands started shaking. I clicked into the details and saw purchases. Art supplies, photography equipment, a security deposit for the loft, plane tickets, dinners I never ate. I remembered my mom asking for my social security number last year, something about updating family paperwork for insurance. I'd given it to her without thinking twice. They'd opened a credit card in my name, used it, maxed it out, and never told me. I sat there staring at that screen, and my name attached to debt I didn't choose, and I realized this wasn't a one-time ask. This was a system. They didn't just want me to co-sign the loan. They'd already decided my credit, my future, my stability belonged to them whenever they needed it. Looking at that fraudulent account with my name bleeding into someone else's spending, I finally understood. If I didn't leave, the next loan wouldn't be $75,000. It would be more. And they'd sleep fine while I paid for it. After I saw that credit card sitting under my name like a bomb I didn't know I'd been carrying, something inside me went quiet and cold. I didn't call them screaming. I didn't send an angry text. I just closed the credit report, closed the video call window I still hadn't exited, and opened my private spreadsheet, the one I'd been keeping for years. I scrolled to the bottom where the total blinked back at me like a punchline. $63,400. That's what I'd given to my sister over the last 8 years. Not loaned. Given. Because she never paid any of it back. I stared at that number for a long time. Then I closed the sheet and opened a new document. Not a spreadsheet this time. Just a blank page. And I wrote one sentence. I'm done. I didn't send it to anyone. I just needed to see it in words. Over the next few days, the energy in the family chat shifted. My mom sent soft messages. I know you're upset, honey. Let's talk when you've had time to cool down. As if I'd been hysterical instead of the only rational person on that call. Lily posted vague Instagram stories. The quotes about toxic people disguised as family and how the people closest to you often fear your success the most. My dad went silent, which in our family meant he was angry, but saving it for later. Through all of it, the Singapore offer sat in my inbox like a lifeboat I kept circling but never climbing into. HR had followed up twice. Then a third time with a polite but firm message. We're excited about the possibility of you joining the team, but we do need a decision by end of week. I stared at that email late at night when I couldn't sleep, imagining a version of my life where my name wasn't attached to anyone else's disasters. Then came the text that broke the dam wide open. It was a Thursday afternoon. I was microwaving leftovers, barely paying attention to my phone, when it lit up with Lily's name. Just maxed out the card again. You'll cover it like always, right? No punctuation. No question mark. Just an assumption, flat and entitled, like she was confirming I'd pick up milk. I felt something crack in my chest. For a second, the old script tried to load. Ask what happened. Offer to help one more time. Remind myself she's under pressure. But that spreadsheet, that $6,000 fraud, that $75,000 pitch deck, all of it sat just under my skin, sharp and impossible to ignore. Before I could second-guess it, I typed, "No, I won't," and hit send. My heart hammered like I'd just done something reckless, even though all I'd really done was tell the truth. I didn't have long to sit with it. 20 minutes later, my mom's text came through. One long paragraph of soft disappointment and thinly veiled threats. "Sarah, your sister needs you. The gallery space won't hold without a deposit. Are you really going to let her dream die because you're being selfish? We never thought you'd turn your back on family like this. Don't make a decision you'll regret." I read it 3 times. Not because I didn't understand, but because I wanted to be very sure there was no ambiguity. There it was laid out clean. My worth reduced to whether I'd fund someone else's fantasy. Our relationship boiled down to my credit score. They hadn't even pretended it was about my well-being anymore. I didn't argue. Didn't write a long message defending myself. Didn't try to make them see my side. I opened my laptop and pulled up the Singapore email instead. The subject line was the same, but the way I saw it had changed. It wasn't just a job anymore. It was an exit. The blue button at the bottom of the email waited. Accept offer. I hovered over it, thought about all the times my mom said, "I don't know what we'd do without you," and realized she didn't mean it as love. She meant it as infrastructure. My fingers stopped shaking. I clicked. A confirmation page loaded. Start date, relocation timeline, visa paperwork, the fact that my new life began in 2 weeks. While my phone buzzed again with what I knew would be another guilt bomb, I opened my banking app instead. If they were willing to open accounts in my name without asking, I needed to make sure they couldn't anymore. I started methodically. I called my phone carrier and removed Lily from my plan. The representative sounded surprised. "Are you sure? There's a cancellation fee for early removal." "Charge it," I said. I called the car insurance company next, unbundled the policy, so her name and her accidents weren't inflating my premiums anymore. I logged into the health insurance marketplace and canceled the supplemental plan I'd been paying under my name, so she'd have coverage while she figured things out. She was 30 years old. I went through my bank's automatic payments and stopped every single transfer labeled Lily Help, Emergency, or anything with her name attached. Then I did the thing I should have done years ago. I requested a credit freeze with all 3 bureaus, locking down my files so no one could open anything new without me personally unlocking it first. While I methodically dismantled the financial scaffolding I'd built around my sister's life, the family group chat was exploding. My mom sent paragraph after paragraph about betrayal and how no real daughter turns her back on blood. My dad's messages were shorter, sharper. Ungrateful. "You think your fancy job makes you better than the people who raised you." Lily wrote, "Guess I know who actually cares now." And Jake added, "It must be nice to hoard security while other people are drowning." At one point my mom hit video call. I answered because I knew if I didn't, they'd show up at my apartment. All 3 of them filled the screen, a wall of anger and tears aimed directly at me. "How could you do this to your sister?" my mom asked, already crying. "She just got the gallery space confirmed. She was counting on you." My dad leaned closer to the camera. "You need to call the bank right now and fix this. Tell them you'll co-sign." Stop this tantrum before you ruin everything. I felt strangely calm, like I was watching from a distance. I'm not calling the bank, I said. I'm not signing anything. I've already done more than enough. Lily scoffed. Oh, here we go. Spreadsheet Sarah's going to pull up her little charts and act like keeping score is the same as being family. I actually did pull it up. I turned my screen so they could see the columns, the dates, the notes. This is 10 years, I said. Phone bills, car insurance, rent, emergencies, failed businesses. This is over $60,000 I gave you. You never paid any of it back. I never called it a loan, even though you promised every single time. I'm not doing it anymore. Not for $75,000. Not for 75 cents. My dad shook his head. We didn't raise you to nickel and dime your own sister. You raised me to fix everything, I said. To pay for everything. To shut up and enable everything. I'm done. There was yelling after that. My mom said I was choosing money over love. Lily said I was jealous that she was living authentically while I was trapped in corporate mediocrity. Jake said I clearly had unresolved issues I needed therapy for. None of it landed the way it used to. I ended the call while my dad was mid-sentence, my thumb pressing the red button while his voice still echoed through the speaker. Then I did the one thing they never saw coming. I muted the family group chat, turned my phone face down, and let it ring itself to death. By midnight, the screen showed 49 missed calls and a flood of texts I didn't open. Somewhere underneath all that noise, an email from HR confirmed my flight details and relocation checklist. They'd given me a choice. Stay tethered to people who saw me as a resource to extract, or take a chance on a life where my yes and my no actually meant something. For the first time in my entire life, I chose me. By the time my plane touched down in Singapore, the panic on my phone had cooled from a boil to a simmer. There were a few more guilt-heavy texts from my mom about last chances and how much I was hurting everyone. A handful of messages from Lily that swung between angry and pitiful. Then, for a while, nothing. I threw myself into the new life. Jet lag, a new office, new streets, a language I didn't speak, humidity that made my hair do things I didn't know were possible. My first Monday abroad, while my team walked me through systems and showed me the best hawker centers for lunch, my old life back in Portland was trying to function without the invisible money keeping it afloat. I didn't have to imagine what happened. It trickled back to me in pieces. A month in, my aunt on my mom's side sent me a Facebook message that started with, "I'm staying out of this, but," and then immediately did not stay out of it. She told me my parents had tried to get the gallery loan anyway, using just Lily and Jake's income. The bank turned them down in under a week. They really thought you'd cave, my aunt wrote. When you didn't, they figured the bank would see Lily's potential or something. Turns out banks don't accept vibes as collateral. A week after that, I checked my credit monitoring app out of habit and saw a notification. Inquiry blocked due to security freeze. Someone had tried to open something new in my name while I was asleep 8 time zones away. The freeze had stopped it cold. It was the most boring alert, just a line of text, but it felt like vindication. Words spread through the extended family, the way it always does. I wasn't there for the conversations, but from what leaked back to me, the story my parents tried to sell, Sarah abandoned her sister in crisis, didn't land the way they'd hoped. Once my aunt and a couple of cousins started asking questions out loud, like, why does a 30-year-old woman need her older sister to co-sign a business loan? The sympathies started shifting. We've all helped our kids, one uncle apparently said. But using her social security number without asking? That's not help. That's fraud. Without my monthly bailouts, Lily couldn't keep up the Pearl District lifestyle. The loft with the perfect light and the exposed brick went first. Rent doesn't care about aesthetic. Jake stuck around for a few tense weeks of instant ramen and overdue notice anxiety before he quietly moved out. I saw the breakup indirectly when Lily posted a late-night Instagram story about people only staying when life is easy, with a blurry photo of boxes stacked in a hallway. The next time my aunt mentioned her, she said Lily was working part-time at a coffee shop and doing commissioned paintings on the side. My parents had to adjust too. No more automatic transfers appearing from my account to cover the gap when they overspent. No more quietly paid phone bills or insurance premiums. They sold the house and moved into a smaller condo, something my mom described in a family email as downsizing for simplicity. But my aunt called it what it was. What happens when you lean on one kid's income like a crutch for a decade? They floated a few vague apology posts on Facebook. Things like, "Sometimes we hurt the ones we love and can only hope they find it in their hearts to forgive." But even those ended with, "Praying for Lily as she rebuilds," like the whole situation was a GoFundMe campaign for her feelings. From across the ocean, I watched them meet consequences they'd been dodging for years. And for the first time, I wasn't the one absorbing the impact. It wasn't loud or dramatic. No explosions, no public meltdowns. Just a slow, quiet unraveling of a system that only worked because I kept feeding it. And in that slow collapse, there was a kind of peace I hadn't believed I'd ever feel. New Year's Eve in Singapore didn't look like any I'd known before. Back home, it used to mean my mom insisting everyone be at the house by 6. My dad pretending he didn't care about the countdown while secretly syncing everything to the TV schedule. Lily showing up late with some new boyfriend and a story about her next big creative breakthrough. This year it was me and a few coworkers on a rooftop bar overlooking the marina, champagne that cost more than I used to spend on groceries, fireworks that turned the sky into something I didn't have words for. When I got back to my apartment after midnight, face flushed from the humidity and the happiness, my phone was waiting like it always is. There was a family group text, grainy photos from whatever smaller space my parents lived in now. My mom's caption said something about missing the ones who couldn't be with us this year. There was also a separate message from her, just to me. "We hope you'll come home for Christmas next year. Your sister is really trying, you know. We're all hurting." A year ago, that message would have sent me spiraling into guilt and second-guessing. This time I read it sitting on my couch, surrounded by plants I'd bought myself, furniture I'd picked out, bills that only had my name on them and nobody else's. And I didn't feel guilt. I felt distance. Not the cold kind. Just the kind that lets you see clearly instead of through the fog of other people's expectations. I did call eventually. Not that night, but a few days later. The conversation was stiff, awkward. My parents didn't yell. They didn't fully apologize either. It was a lot of, "We're sorry if you felt hurt," and "We all made mistakes." Somewhere in there my dad admitted that using my information without asking was crossing a line. My mom said she understood why I froze my credit. Lily got on for a minute, said something vague about working now and figuring her life out, then handed the phone back. It wasn't a movie moment. No violins, no tears, no group hug through the screen. Just real people, still a little defensive, starting to realize I wasn't coming back to the old script. The real shift didn't happen in that call anyway. It happened in the quiet routines I built without them. Weekly therapy sessions where I said the words financial abuse out loud and didn't immediately apologize for it. Automating deposits into my own savings account, money that stayed mine. Learning that I liked my coffee black, that I hated crowds but loved night markets, that I could sit in silence without filling it with someone else's crisis. I still keep a spreadsheet, but now it tracks my goals. Trips I want to take, certifications I'm working toward, savings milestones that belong only to me. No line item labeled family bailout. Here's what I've learned, the part one wish someone had told me at 22 instead of 32. Being the responsible one doesn't mean being the disposable one. Being good with money doesn't mean you owe everyone else access to it. Love and loyalty don't require you to light your future on fire, so someone else never has to feel cold. You're allowed to say no, even when people cry, even when they call you selfish, even when they tell everyone you're the villain. You're allowed to leave. Not because you stopped loving them, but because you finally started loving yourself enough to stop being their safety net. If any of this sounds uncomfortably familiar, if you're the one they always call because they know you'll understand, I'm not going to tell you walking away is easy. It's not. It's messy and terrifying, and your phone will explode with messages designed to make you question everything. But I can tell you this. On the other side of that first no, there's a version of your life where your value isn't measured by how much you can give until you break. And you deserve to at least see what that life looks like. If this story hit close to home, do me a favor. hit that like button so more people who need to hear this can find it. Subscribe because I share stories like this every week, real accounts of people who finally chose themselves over toxic family dynamics. And drop a comment below. Tell me, have you ever been the family ATM? Are you still stuck? Or did you finally break free? I read every single comment, and your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Thanks for watching, and remember, you're not selfish for protecting your peace. You're just finally putting on your own oxygen mask first.